We'll call a meeting to order. This is Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting for December the 4th, 2017. Our first order of business will be to approve or correct the minutes from the November the 20th meeting.
Make a motion to approve our minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Do we have questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. At this point, we offer our public guests an opportunity to speak if they have something they'd like to say. Okay, perhaps later. With that, then, may we have the Harbor Master's report, Mr. Frank?
Sure. Last Friday, Sam and I attended a meeting up at City Hall with the parties related to the Washington Park Master Plan. And we participated in a risk assessment meeting where they look at different phases of the project and what might go wrong and how to mitigate those kind of things. They also discussed the order, the sequence of things, and some little stuff that's popped up in the meantime that affects things. They also talked briefly about the parking lot out here. Everybody's in agreement that they want to do that, and the current plan is to have that in by June 1st. They do have some other decisions that they need to make since by the parking lot going in first, it's going to force some of their design decisions that are later on. Overall, I think it was a pretty good meeting, and from Port Authority's point of view, I think Sam and I both were real happy with the general tone of everything. We also sent out 17 lease packets for the cafe last Friday. The fence repair at Trail Creek, I spoke with Action Fence today, and the welder that is building the panels has been quite busy, so he doesn't expect to actually have the panels ready to install till about the week of the 18th this month. But that's their current plan, is to come in the week of the 18th and replace those fence panels. If you haven't been down past Trail Creek, the old racks have been moved and the new racks are standing in their place. They still need to be anchored down, and we still need to put the wood bunks on. We have the anchors, and the wood bunks should be at Pioneer as we speak. So that project is moving along well. And then I also spoke with Kyle Kazmarzak this morning. He's the fire marshal. He's a member of the Beach Safety Committee. And they have a meeting scheduled this Wednesday with Mr. Prespolinski of the City Council to talk about Sam's suggestion of using the channel maintenance fund or some of that towards the cameras. So Kyle asked that we hold off whatever consideration we were thinking of till after their meeting Wednesday and see how that turns out. So I told him that would probably not be a problem. And what else? I think that, the Christmas lights are on, in case you didn't notice. And I guess that's all for now, unless anybody has any questions.
Board, do you have questions, Harbor Master?
I just had one on the parking there. We'd all been a little concerned about the immediate parking right out in front of the building. And has that been resolved to satisfaction yet, or is that part of the overall new parking lot?
You mean right out here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be affected at all.
Okay.
That specifically wasn't brought up, but just in other conversations I've had with Mr. Keenitz and Mr. Phillips, I don't think it's a problem.
Okay. I know that it had popped up a couple times on the board meeting, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tim, there were some questions, I think you and I even talked about it. Are we going to actually gain parking places because of what we're losing, or where does that stand?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Depending on how you count them. by them putting a new parking lot in, we were gonna break even or real close to it. If they can squeeze a few more than 50 in there, then we'll end up ahead.
Okay.
And until they actually start trying to fit in what we're gonna do, we won't know, but the target is 50 or more currently. But the engineering company is just getting ready to do all their layout. They just finished some property lines of us, the yacht club, some the greenhouse that they're working on down there. They still need to do the Coast Guard. They did a whole lot of utility research out here. So they're just about ready to start laying things out.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if I may add, Jim, that the position of the redevelopment commission is that they're taking away 50 spots, and they're going to replace those 50 spots. Now, if you want to go beyond 50, then you get into the negotiation thing about how much of that we're going to pay for.
Right.
But they don't feel like they have an obligation to give us new spots at their expense. But I have asked that when they do the engineering layout includes their recommendation for the additional spots that the harbor master decides he'd like to ask for, so that we can go ahead on our own individual project at some later time and still fit into their overall master plan without messing up their green space and all the other things that they want to accomplish.
Gotcha.
So all in all, I think I think the redevelopment commission and the city administration have been really, really supportive of being concerned about the Port Authority and the fact that we have 600 slips and only 500 parking places, and they don't want to make that any worse than it is already. But I think there's some other good spin-offs that are going to come out of this master plan that the Port Authority is going to be pleased with when it's all finished.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to make a statement. You said that Council Fireman Charisma Zarek, is it, meeting with one of the council people. After my inquiry, I was informed that there's a little over $2 million in that general maintenance fund, and according to the controller's office, we would be allowed to use it for a project like that. Now, if the board still, had some questions and wanted further investigation, Attorney Zach Noon can reach out to the city attorney, Amber LePage. But as far as the controller's office goes, that we would be able to use that fund, and there's a little over $2 million in there.
As a matter of fact, it's $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? So, thank you for your report, Mr. Frame. Mrs. Palicki?
The only thing I had tonight was that we had sent the 17 bid packets out, and things are slowing down now, as they always do at this time of year for us.
Bid packets for
The cafe.
Cafe?
When did those go out?
Last Friday.
Okay.
They're due next Monday.
All right. Board, do you have questions of Mrs. Palicki? If not, Mr. Garrett, may we have financial oversight report and a budget?
Sure can. Okay, I am going to touch on 6 of the 17 items on our docket. Once you see them, they'll make a little more sense, and they pretty much cover everything. So, if you go halfway down for $2,871 for all-phase electric supply code, that is for, it was explained to me, light parts for the lanterns, and with some replacements on those that needed some repairs. The following item down, for $3,467.88. That is our car insurance payment. And following down for $3,665.43 is for from our credit card for telephone, dock supplies, cables, etc. Then the next one down, which is a large sum of this, about half, for $23,684.80. This is to the city control of Michigan City, and that's for our watercraft user fee reimbursement, which is normal.
And that goes into the channel maintenance
And
also.
so, yep. So now 2523, something around there. And then following down for $2,574 is for landscaping. And I believe it's the following one down after that for $4,873.23 to Edgewater Resources for the racks and barge work. Those 6 of the 17 items total $41,136.34 of the $46,107.36. So leaves very little left in the other 11 items. So unless there's any questions, I will make a motion that we pay our bills as presented.
Second. Have a motion second to pay our bills as they have been presented to us. Are there questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We pay our bills. Do you have anything else, Mr. Garrett?
That is all.
Are there questions for Mr. Garrett from the board? Mr. Manor, insurance?
Yeah. In terms of the barge, Spectrum Salvage Company, I believe they're out of LaPorte, if I'm not mistaken. They're going supposedly to remove the barge this week. Our insurance agent has contacted them, and the information I get from him is they are going to move it this week. Now, I don't know whether you've heard anything yet today, but sometime this week it's supposed to be gone. So that's a good thing. I'm going to give you some highlights of an insurance meeting we had. It was Tim and myself and our insurance agent. Experience modification in terms of insurance goes, and what that is, it's a calculation used by the insurance company on the claims we have each year, workers' compensation claims that we have each year, to determine what our costs are going to be. That's what they call this, the experience modification. Well, from 2016 to 2017, it went from 0.83% up to 0.86%. And that was because of 1 major and 2 minor accidents to employees in 2016. That's what caused that to go up a little bit. The major accident from that year, 2016, is not closed yet. It's still open. So our 2018 modification will rise to 1.71%. And that does not include the barge claim. And the reason it doesn't include the barge claim is because we have 4 employees that their insurance is still open. Those particular employees' insurance is not closed on those cases yet either. I think it's probably going to go up in 2019 also, because that will probably include the 4 employees that still have their cases open, supposedly. Hopefully by the end of the year those cases will be closed, but that will affect our 2019 rates. So, because we still have 3 open cases on that accident, the bottom line appears that our workman's compensation premium cost will, this is a big hit, it's going to double for 2018 and probably rise again in 2019 if everything stays the same. We are, at this particular point, we are paying, I think, close to a little over $8,000 for that insurance, and the projection is it's probably going to go to $16,000. I proposed some research questions to Charlie Keene to see if we can lower some costs in other areas of our insurance to possibly offset some of the workers' compensation costs. I've invited Charlie next week to our meeting, and he's going to explain that further. He's going to get back to me with some more information that I asked him about in terms of that research, and we'll go from there next week when Charlie shows up. So hopefully we can get a vote on this next week, one way or the other.
Okay. So you're going to be presenting the 2018 insurance
Yes.
proposal next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, we go from a little over $8,000, I think it was, wasn't it? We go from, and it appears that that particular part of our coverage is going to double probably because of all the claims we've had in the last 2 years, so.
So is that, because I think we were about 71.
We were points,
No, I meant total. It was about 71, 70,
About 78,
70, I don't know.
79, something like it.
well, I can tell you exactly
What we paid last year.
Should be in the back here. I don't think there's one place in here. Well, it lists the cost for each section in here, but I don't see workers' comp. It should be. Do you know where it's listed in here? I don't
On the
see.
very
I don't see
first page, I want to say.
Well, it could be. Maybe you know where it's listed on here.
Isn't on the last page of that one.
Last page of this one. Yeah, well, this was last. That's right, that's what you're looking for.
No, maybe
No,
not.
it's not on the last page. It's in the 70s.
Yeah.
I know that.
So we're looking at maybe another 8,000 on top of that.
Yes.
Now,
If everything stays the
if
same.
everything stays the same.
Possibly. I mean, we haven't gotten,
Does that-
it might be less than that if some of the things that Charlie is going to research for me can help to lower our cost in other areas.
So the reason why I ask this is because is that including?
72,660.
I think it was 71 or something. 72. We won't be insuring the barge until we have one.
That's correct.
So, I was going to say that will cut it maybe like $200, but it's,
Yeah, once we take possession of the barge, then we will add that to our
and they'll
insurance.
adjust based off of that too. Okay. Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. Board, do you have questions for Mr. Manor? You have anything on your park liaison?
I didn't make that meeting.
You heard that, Phil?
Oh, I noticed it.
Okay. Mr. Ferguson, master planning?
Just glad that the outside racks are getting to be completed, and that's all that I was going to comment on, and Harbor Master mentioned that, so I have nothing else to report.
Board, do you have questions for Mr. Ferguson? If not, Mr. Messina, voter communications, special events?
I have no report.
Okay. In terms of port operations personnel, marina policy, the only thing I have is a legal situation. Mr. Zagnoon, I understand that the Redevelopment Commission is expecting a memorandum of understanding between us and redevelopment, giving them the opportunity for the management and development of the new parking lot that is fundamentally our parking lot. So will you work that out?
I will. I'll probably begin preparing it tomorrow. I've got a little bit of time, and I'll reach out to my counterpart and put together an MOU.
Okay, and once again, it's way too early, but we know that there's going to be some real estate exchange. And for the first time maybe in 50 years, the boundary lines of the property ownership down at the lakefront will be established Because that's what, and by the way, it's kind of interesting that the new project, the master plan project, deals with a whole bunch of property owners, a little piece here, a little piece there, and they're really having problems trying to sort out where ownership of one party stops and another party starts. So, including the Coast Guard, the Armory, they've got a lot of work to do. But I know that you're alerted to keep track of that, and I know you'll keep the board informed as we get into that process.
I certainly will.
That's all I have. Mrs. Smear, Advertising and Public Relations.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Zagman, may we have the attorney's report, please?
Certainly, I was going to comment on the barge removal, but Mr. Manor has covered that already. We're looking forward to the barge being removed, and hopefully it will be this week. On Friday, I sent out a proposed contract for the barge builder. Actually, Colin sent it out. I prepared it. Colin sent it out. I touched base with Colin today to see if he had any response from the builder. Nothing as of yet. It's a pretty straightforward contract. I don't imagine there's going to be too much negotiating about it. So I'll just await any response from the builder and or Colin and report at the next meeting. In terms of the Coast Guard finalizing its report, I sent an email to Mr. Drury last week advising him that we should soon, if we don't have them already, have the medical records for the 3 injured employees, and that we would make them available to him as soon as we receive them. And I also asked him if he could give me a rough estimate of when they might have their report prepared. I did not hear back from him as of yet. It usually takes him several days, sometimes as long as a week before I get an email back. I followed up and left a voicemail today for him. Haven't heard back by the time I left to come to the meeting. But I do understand he's a pretty busy guy, and every time he gets back to me, he apologizes for the delay and tells me that he's got some major investigations underway. But I'll continue to follow up to try to get an estimate of when they might have the report. Marianne, did you hear something?
We just got the bill, the mail today for that, and they don't take a credit card. So I asked City Hall if they could get the check done as soon as possible.
Okay, I'll let him know that we'll be receiving the medical records shortly.
I've got the papers for you in the office.
Okay, that'll give me an opportunity to call him again and see if I can get some sort of an idea of when their report will be ready. I know at the very outset, he told us that he really couldn't give us a date certain, that he's got a lot of investigations underway, but I'll keep pressing him to try to get some sort of an understanding. Obviously, it's going to be important to the insurance and the insurance premium, so I'll do what I can to try to get a definitive date, or at least a decent estimate. And that's all I have.
Board, do you have questions, Mr. Sankman? Any questions? Thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
Do we have any old business to discuss? Any old business? Phil, is there anything you'd like to say?
Just on behalf of Bruce, we just had just a couple items on our agenda, so there wasn't really anything that he could report back to you. However, by his absence, it saved myself about $25 because I bought steak dinners for everybody.
Oh, no.
Good. That's good.
Do you have a comment?
No comment. The only comment I got is Phil's got one coming.
Okay. Well, if there's no other business, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Board, we're adjourned. Nice meeting. Thank you for your work and your attention.